I got 4 cameras rolling. This is the first crank. Haven't touched it, primed the oil, got all the fluids topped off. So this is gonna be first crank after a full rebuild. It's probably gonna be noisy as hell. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous. Kill that for a minute. All right, here we go. All right, time to go take a look. Oh, you know what? Let's see our faults. Let's see what we got. Engine speed sensor, no signal. That could be just because I have crank hand and it's not starting. All right, let's figure out what's wrong with it. First time was a no-go. Didn't look like I was getting any crank position signal, so no RPM on the gauge. Had a fault for the crank speed sensor, which is G28. Still got no speed signal. Okay, I think I figured out what the problem was. Should be 3rd time's a charm. We're gonna fire her up. Let's see how she sounds. Still no RPM signal. 4th time. She lives.
So what happened? What happened when I first hit that key? Well, I had a lot of cranking. Yay! I had a lot of not starting. Boo! Why wouldn't the vehicle start? Well, thanks to my VACCOM cable, I pulled faults real quick and confirmed that I had no engine speed signal. There was a fault code stored for the RPM sensor, which is G28, another crank, and the tach didn't move, so confirming that I did not have engine speed. Well, during this build, I decided to go ahead and put a new RPM sensor in it because it's such a common failing part. Well, luckily I still had the old one, so a quick swap and back to trying to start it. That was a no-go. So what next? Still fault for no RPM signal, still no tach moving at all. What was next? Well, I went back to the connector junction and looked and thought, maybe I got these 2 connectors switched around. There are 2 connectors, both 3 pins. One's white, one's black. Oddly enough, they each can plug into each other, so that sort of threw me off. Well, I swapped the connectors around, tried to start it, and no start. Wah, wah. What now? Well, the next logical step would be to put the new RPM sensor back in the car and see if that was the problem. I had concerns about the old sensor. The wiring was a little sketchy, so in went the new RPM sensor, the new G28, which is right next to the oil filter housing. Started all the cameras again, cleared the fault, turned the key, and lo and behold, she fired right up. Yes, victory. So she started, she ran it off idle for a little while to try and get the camshaft broken in, even though this camshaft manufacturer didn't list a braking procedure. That seemed to be a really common thing. As usual with this kind of build, especially one that sat for a while, even after putting the top end together, it was a little noisy at first, but that quieted down pretty quickly, which I was happy about. Next, I went through and did some inspections, made sure I didn't have any leaks, tried to bleed as much air out of the cooling system as I could, and what would be better next to do than to take it on its maiden voyage. Now remember, this was as it sits, so no bumper, no lights. I didn't really want to take it out on the road. I just ran it around the neighborhood a couple of times. Plus, with the alignment still a little bit off, I didn't really want to take it up to highway speed. The question is, how did it do? Ran great, seemed to accelerate well. I was really nice to it on this maiden voyage, loaded it up a little bit, decel a little bit under load. Remember, we're breaking in an engine. and we're breaking in a clutch, so we need to be pretty nice to it as well. Also, I didn't have my boost gauge, I didn't have an oil pressure gauge, and I didn't have an air fuel gauge hooked up yet. So until those gauges get installed and set, I'm not going to do much more than maybe take it around the block a couple of times. In addition to that, this setup really does require an in-tank fuel pump. I have that pump, I just need to install it. I'll be showing you guys exactly how to do that. I don't know that I can accurately describe how it felt to finally get to a point where I could drive this car.
I'm so excited!
It's not done. We still got a lot of work to do, right? All this has to be put back together. The bumper has to still be trimmed considerably in order to make it fit around the charge cooler. I've never washed this car in the entire time I've owned it. You can see there's a lot of mildew everywhere. So the car needs to be a deep, deep clean. Then next we're gonna move to suspension and get the coilovers on, get the ride height right, get it looking a little bit better than kind of the monster truck mode that it's in right now. Then we're gonna move into the interior and start redoing that. So we still have so much work to do, but this is one of those landmark time points. It's one of those where all that hard work, up till 3 or 4 a.m. working on the car, frustrations with parts not fitting, companies not doing what they're supposed to do, kits that shouldn't be called a kit, lazy engineering by companies and putting together something that's supposed to be a drop-in installation and it's not. All that stuff goes away. All of it goes away because the key turns and the car starts. And I can drive it. I drove it in here. I can drive it around the neighborhood. I can now get it inspected and actually pay my registration that's like 2 years past due because I was dumb and didn't turn the tags in. All that stuff doesn't matter because the excitement of hitting the key the first time, the excitement of driving it up the driveway and remembering, oh yeah, the parking brake doesn't work because the cables are all beat up, driving it around the neighborhood, hearing Wookie noises for the first time in a year and a half, feeling that little bit of boost, all the stress of that went away. And it felt so good to drive this car. I shot 2 live videos. Well, I took you guys with me on Instagram, I think, or maybe it was Facebook. It was Facebook. And, some people were making fun of me because I was just so excited about it. And I don't care. It feels good. And I want that feeling for you guys when you do your project cars or, I've had even repair jobs that I've done that I've felt that way about. But this is amazing, guys. I'm nowhere near done, but to be at a point where I'm so close to being able to hop in it and run it to the parts store, drive it up to get the charge cooler piping set and welded and tacked up and look really, really nice. I'm really excited about all that. So a couple of things that I also need to mention. First of all, thank you guys so much for being so supportive of this build, for following it so closely, for being involved, for being engaged, for the comments, for the good well wishes, for the pointing out, hey, Charles, you did that wrong kind of deal. I really do appreciate it. There's also a handful of companies that without their support, I could not have done this. Paul from shopdap.com, one of the biggest supporters of the show, of the channel, of our community, and of this build, sent me a ton of parts. He really stepped it up. That's why the only sticker on this car up to this point, and probably one of the only ones under the hood, is going to be a Shop DAP sticker. So mad shout out to Paul. Thank you so much. If you guys need parts for your VWs and Audis, that's my go-to spot. We also have Black Forest Industries, who deals way more in the performance side of things. That was a huge contributor of this build as well. Stage 2 BFI clutch performed great. Now, we haven't gotten on it real hard, but very, very pleased with how that clutch performs. They've also helped me out with a lot of other stuff, suspension components, bushings, and things like that. Parking brake cables, oddly enough, I got from BFI as well. So Black Forest has been a great supporter of the channel, of the show as well. I'll probably be going that route when I look at getting a catch can, which will be installed on this car. Who else do we have? We have WD-40, which has been a great supporter of the show and several sponsored videos. Thank you guys for that as well. NGP has given support. We just haven't gotten to that stage of the build yet. Their coilovers are what I'm going to be running, so there'll be way more about what they do and what they've brought to the table when we do the coilovers. Sonic tools are the tools that I've pretty much been using, hand tools that I've been using throughout this build. Somehow I haven't managed to break one yet, So big ups to Sonic Tools. Remember, they support the crew members with a mad crazy discount on your first order and a great discount on the second one. Milwaukee Tools has been the power tool supporter of this build. Also the lighting supporter, as you can see right up here, is my Milwaukee over-the-hood light, which I finally get to use on the hood of the GTI. Ultra awesome. They've been a great supporter with supplying tools for help me get this car done. Thank you to all of you guys that have been such a supporter of the show. But again, most importantly, you guys, the fans that have been here for me for this entire time. I know it's been a year and a half, and that seems like a ridiculous amount of time to rebuild an engine and install a turbo, but that's just how it goes, so I appreciate all that support. So guys, with that, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Questions, comments, you know what to do. If you like the video, thumbs up. Always appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe right here on YouTube or over on the blog at HumbleMechanic.com. If you want exclusive content and discounts to places like Sonic Tools, Black Forest Industries, MT Knives, Mechanic, Adams Polishes, and more, hit the crew membership program link down in the description. It's a great way to help support me, support the show, all the information and work that I do for you guys. That is how I keep the lights, literally keep the lights on. If that's not your flavor, check out the Patreon. I set up for you guys some really cool rewards over on Patreon, as well as my Amazon link. If you don't want to do any of the other support, hit that Amazon link, buy what you're going to buy on Amazon, and I get a bit of credit for it, so I appreciate all of that. And you probably already know, because you've already seen a lot of this, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course Snapchat. A lot of GTI content has went out that way rather than on YouTube. For you YouTube-only folks, I'm sorry. It's 1,000 times easier to make a quick post on Instagram than produce an entire YouTube video. So, you know, good reason to hit me up on Instagram. Guys, with that, thank you so much. I'm so excited. It's been a great weekend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will see you next time.